Hey everyone, welcome back to The Found Generation, a self-improvement podcast where every week we try to answer this most important question. How do we extract the most from our lives? On today's episode, we're going to talk about the subject of anger. And I'm going to tell you 5 ways, I'm going to give you 5 strategies for lessening the role of anger in your life. And I'm going to tell you how you can eliminate this terrible negative emotion from your life completely. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Found Generation, the self-improvement podcast. On this Monday, this is The Found Generation Season 4, Episode 3. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to everyone who reached out about Episode 2, where I revealed that I've just been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I talked about my 48 hours in the hospital. I've received so much love and support. I'm going to talk about that later in today's show in place of the pop culture news commentary. So I'll save that for later. I want to get into the meat and potatoes of today's show, which is the subject of anger. Now, when I think about what it means to live an amazing life, the best life, I really don't think anger has any place in it. There is only one situation where I think anger is a good thing, and that is using it as a fuel for change. If there is something that enrages you, if there's something going on in the world that makes you mad, let's use something big and broad. Let's talk about climate change, okay? If climate change makes you mad, it makes me a bit mad. If that makes you angry, follow that, channel that. That is something that you can channel into something good, right? If climate change makes you mad, you can maybe be the guy who creates the solution. Again, like big silly ideas, but you get what I'm saying. You can be someone who donates a bunch to the cause, or maybe you can just go do something out in your community that just combats climate change by 0.01%, right? If you can find the things that make you angry and then turn that into a fuel for good, that's where anger is good. But in every other situation in your life, I don't think it's a good thing. Arguing with other people, where does that get you? Where does getting really defensive get you? Anger is not a good thing. And the goal in life is to lead a tranquil life. At least that's what the ancient Stoic philosophers would say, as that's the main school of thought that I adhere to these days. So the main goal is to eliminate negative emotions. So that's not only anger, but that's jealousy. That is, what other negative emotions are there? That's jealousy. That is, obviously, no one wants to feel sadness. No one wants to feel grief. No one wants to feel less than. We want to eliminate all of these emotions from our lives. Is it possible to eliminate all of these things from your life completely? Of course not. Listen, I don't want you guys to get the impression that I'm some all-knowing being and that I am living life completely the right way 100% of the time. Of course not. I'm a human being. I mess up. I still get angry. I still get jealous. I still feel all the negative emotions that you do. But I also have this toolkit, right? I've spent years accumulating knowledge and talking to people and observing people, and I put a lot of that in this book, which you can see over my shoulder. I have all of the tools, and so I know how to apply them. So my initial reaction to a situation might be to feel anger, but upon noticing that, I quickly override that with the following strategies that I'm about to tell you. So the goal in your life, let me say this loud and clear. The goal in your life is to eliminate negative emotions. That's what I think is the key to living your best life. We're going to talk about anger and 5 ways to get rid of it. So here we go. Here's number 1. Number 1, Control what you can control. No other sentence will change your life faster than that. When I started controlling what I could control in late 2020 was when I first stumbled upon that school of thought. My life completely changed. There's so many things that we get worked up about on a day-to-day basis that we have zero control over. What's something that gets us all riled up, right? Politics, the news. Why? Why do you get so worked up over that? Ignorance is bliss. You don't need to know everything that's going on. Be content to appear clueless in situations. If people are in a group and they're talking about what's going on in the White House and Capitol Hill and blah, 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 and you have no idea what's going on, that's fine. Because you know what? Those people are getting worked up about things that don't concern them at all. That if they're not legislators, if it's not a part of their day-to-day life, this thing, why are they caring about it? If you study the happiest people in the world, and there's a tribe out there, they're called the Paraha people. They live on the banks of the Amazon. They're a dying breed. There's not that many of them, just a couple hundred. But these studies on happiness will tell you that the Paraha people are the happiest people in the world. Well, how can that be? Because this tribe, they don't live the modern way. They live the hunter-gatherer lifestyle of our ancestors of thousands of years ago. They don't have any of the modern amenities. They don't have the internet. They still find all of their food out in the wild. And yet they're the happiest people. And here we are saying that, oh, we need X, Y, and Z to be happy. We need this money, and we need this gadget, and we need this technology, and that's happiness, right? But these people living on the banks of the Amazon, this little tribe, they're the happiest people. How can that be? The answer is because they only care about their little world. They only care about the health of their other tribe members. They only care about what's truly important in life. Family, friends, community, health, and just their little circle. Human beings are wired to only care about your immediate circle. We're not supposed to know thousands and hundreds of thousands of people all across the world. We're not supposed to care about their affairs. We're not supposed to care about what they think about us. That's not what we were designed to do. There's so many things that make us angry. Next time you catch yourself getting angry about something, ask yourself, do I have any control over this situation? Is there anything I can do to make this situation better? And if your answer to that question is no, then stop caring about it. It doesn't affect you. So why should you let it affect your state of mind, your mood, your day? Why are you letting so many things ruin your day that you have no control over? That's silly. If you want to lead a happy, tranquil life free from anger, control what you can control, let go of everything else. Doesn't matter. Number 2, raise your standards, lower your expectations. Here's a Troy story for you. So, something that makes me angry is, or used to make me angry, is getting canceled on. I hate when I make plans with people, we're all in, we're getting excited, we've been looking forward to it for weeks, and then day of, you get that dreaded text message, hey, I can't make it today, or then someone just totally ghosts you entirely, or then someone at the very last minute says that they can't make it, they don't show up, whatever. I hate getting canceled on. I hate flaky people. It's something that I never do. I never do things like that. So, raise your standards, lower your expectations. After having this happen to me so many times, one, I eliminated eliminated those people from my life. I said to myself, you know what? These people aren't going to change. I've said before that this is a problem. I'm just going to cut them loose. I have no time for people who have no time for me, who don't prioritize me. At this point in our lives, we need to be selfish, and we need people in our life who are going to be there for us, who we can count on, who are going to support us. On top of that, you need to completely change your mindset around it. There's one of the first entries in my book is called People Suck. Do I actually mean people suck? No. I love people. I think people are the best. People are so interesting. They have amazing stories and backstories, and we're all unique. And every single one of us, every person in the world is so unique in their own way. And I'm endlessly fascinated by people, and I love talking to them out in the world and on this very podcast. But I also have it in my mind that people suck, that they're going to let you down. And so I go into every situation with the expectation that people are going to let me down, rather than operating the way that I used to, which was hoping that people just come through for me this one time and then getting let down and feeling sad about it and asking like, oh, is this a reflection of me, et cetera, et cetera. I've now shifted to expect people to cancel, expect people to be flaky, to not come through. Does that sound morbid and pessimistic? Yes. But it has protected me so much. If you expect people to not come through for you when they inevitably fail to come through for you, you're not going to be affected at all, because that is what you're expecting. The quality of our lives, or the quality of our experiences, is often determined by the quality of our expectations. If you set your expectations low, people don't come through for you, then you're fine. You're unaffected. If you set your expectations low and people do come through for you, well, then you're overjoyed. Well, then you're surprised. And the feeling of surprise, of joy of someone coming through for you is amazing. So, this is my advice to you. Raise your standards. You continue holding yourself to a high standard. Don't sink down to other people's. It's on you to be the best person you can possibly be. If someone else flakes, don't take that to mean that you can flake too, that it's okay. No. If you care about this like I do, if you want to be the best person you can possibly be, stay true to your word, be loyal, come through for people when you say you're going to, and be there for people. Those are amazing qualities of a human being. It's a great person to strive to be. Raise your standards for yourself, but don't raise them for other people. Expect the worst from people. Lower your expectations. Expect them to not come through for you. And then when they do, it feels amazing. And then when they don't, you're fine. You're unaffected. You won't get angry about it. Number 3, practice non-attachment. I realized in late 2020 that I needed to have a mindset shift. I had just gotten the most angry, enraged that I have ever been in my entire life. I am not exaggerating. Here's a Troy story. So, at that time, I was working at ESPN. I've been working at ESPN for 3+ years. I had done everything, guys. I paid my dues. I worked the nights, weekends, the overnights. I grinded. I put in 17-hour days. I remember doing that. I went in on weekends. I went in on holidays. I gave up so many precious memories in order to be there. I took so much pride in working for ESPN. I went above and beyond. I networked up a storm. I knew everyone. People knew me. I was doing big, impactful work. At that point in 2020, I had just accomplished my dream. I had produced a 3-part documentary podcast series about a famous NBA player named Giannis Antetokounmpo, and that was the dream. When I got to ESPN, that was the thing that I really wanted to do. And so I was riding high. It was amazing. And then it all came crashing down. If you remember, 2020, kind of a tumultuous year. And at ESPN, when there's no live sports for a certain period of time, of course, the company's bottom line is going to take a bit of a hit. So unfortunately, they laid off significant number of people at the company. And some of those people were in the ESPN radio department. Now, at this point, I was working in podcasting, loving life, riding Cloud Nine, had just done the Yada doc. I'm working on big podcasts hosted by big talent with massive social media followings, hundreds of thousands of listeners. Life is good, no complaints from me. Before I worked in podcasting, I was in the radio department. I hated it. The work was meaningless. The hours sucked. It just wasn't where I wanted to be. It wasn't the thing for me. I found the thing in podcasting. They laid off a bunch of people in radio in late 2020. And so they called up me and said, Troy, you have radio experience. We need you. We need you over in radio. And I was enraged by this because they flipped it as, oh, this is an amazing opportunity for you. We want to take your podcasting knowledge and apply it to radio. We'll figure out a way to, fill in for you in podcasting. We need you. You're now a member of the rate, like your head count is shifting over from podcasting to radio. Your days in podcasting are done. Just out of nowhere. And I was so upset because no one was listening to me. I said, but I'm loving what I'm doing right now. I feel like I'm on the path to something great. I just did this amazing thing that has been so well received by ESPN, by the NBA. I want to do more of this. I'm just getting started. And now you want to rip me away from this thing? This isn't, going back to radio, isn't fitting in my timeline, my trajectory at all. And I don't know when this is going to end. Am I ever going to switch back? So many questions that I called up my parents and dropped F-bombs, and that's never something I do on the phone with my parents. I was so mad because I thought that my life was just going to crash down because I was living a very healthy lifestyle. Podcasting is much more 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, with some exceptions. Radio, not that. Nights, weekends, overnights, and they were putting me back on the overnights, back on the very thing that I had tried to escape from, and then I had deserved to no longer do because I had put in the work. And here they were putting me back on it. I'm taking 3 years back in my career, and I was so enraged. Why was I enraged? Because I loved the company so much. I had sacrificed so much. I'd given so much blind loyalty to them. Those 4 letters, us ESPNers always talk about the 4 letters. I wore those 4 letters so proudly. But I learned a lesson. At the end of the day, you're just a number on a spreadsheet. At a big company like that, maybe you can get away with it at a smaller company, but at a big company like that, no one actually cares about you. When push comes to shove, they're going to do what's best for the company, not what's best for you. And that is when I decided that I was going to become unattached and practice non-attachment, the third way to eliminate anger and feelings like that I had in late 2020 from your life. Number 4, perspective. This is something that I think about a lot. I talked about it on last week's episode of the podcast. Talking about my diabetes diagnosis, for example. The reason I'm not feeling super sorry for myself is because it's a very treatable disease. We know it's not curable, but we know how to treat it. I know how to manage it. In a couple weeks, I'll have it all figured out, and then it'll just be a part of my routine. Everyone's saying, I'm so sorry for you. I'm so sorry for you. I appreciate that, respect that, love that. Thank you. However, I'm keeping the perspective of knowing it could be so much worse, right? There is so much pain and suffering in the world. There are so many people who are less fortunate than I am. I've got access to clean water. I've got access to nutritious food that fuels my body. I've got a roof over my head. I've got financial means. I've got a great job, and I get to do what I love. I get to travel the world. I have great people in my life. I think I'm the luckiest person in the world. I think I have the best life. And I don't say that to brag. I say that to just show you how grateful I am for everything and how self-aware I am of everything that I have. So if you have the ability to watch this podcast, you probably have a lot of the same things that I just listed or close to it. Remember that. Remember how lucky you are to be where you are right now, to be doing what you're doing, to be surrounded by the people that you are. Listen, if you're going through something, if life isn't as great as you would like it to be right now, if you're sad about something, if you need to wallow in something, if you need to feel your feelings, that's fine. Your feelings are valid. You're a human being too. Just because you've got it made, just because I've got it made and get to live a life better than 98% of the people on this planet, doesn't mean that you don't have the right to feel, right? But keep the perspective. It's a great way to reduce anger from your life and remind yourself just how lucky you are. Number 5, gratitude. This kind of goes hand in hand with perspective. I think gratitude is the best thing in the world, straight up. I think if you can make room for gratitude every day in your life, you can't possibly feel negative emotions. I actually want to do a little throwback here to April 2021. I had my friend from college. She's now like a big time influencer and model in Miami. Her name is Jasmine Noonan. She's made 2 appearances on the show. She said this about gratitude back in April of 2021. Take a listen.
It's really hard to be in a bad mood after you just said 3 things that you're grateful for. It's really hard to like be down in the dumps after you acknowledge all the good that you have in your life. And once I started doing those kinds of things a few years ago, my life has completely changed.
Yeah, amen, Jasmine. It really is hard to be in a bad mood when you're grateful for everything. Every day, every morning, I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for every day, no matter what. It can be something really big, my health, that it's not worse than diabetes, right? Or it can be something small, that butterfly that I'm staring at, the morning, the birds chirping in the morning, my morning coffee. It can be anything big or small. If you are grateful, if you are constantly expressing the things that you're grateful for the things that you have, the people in your life, the things that you get to do, it's really difficult to feel sustained periods of negative emotions like anger. If you live your life from a place of gratitude, that is the best place to be. If you are grateful for every second, for every moment, for every opportunity, that is the way to live your life. I am telling you, take it from someone who experiences this firsthand on a day-to-day basis. Take it from someone like Jasmine as well, who is one of the happiest people I know, who is doing life right. God, there's so many, I'm being vague right now. There's so many situations in your life where if you replace that feeling of anger with a feeling of gratitude, it changes. Diabetes, for example, take it in my own life, okay? Instead of being angry about I've been doing all of the right things for the past couple years in terms of diet, exercise, sleep. No one cares about these things more than I do. I challenge you to find someone that you know who is as dialed in and as self-aware with all of these things than me. Now, I get type 1 diabetes is out of my control, but just for example, just like the fact that I'm going through this makes no sense. It would make many people angry who also treat their bodies like I do. Like, the fact that I have this is really strange and confusing. And as someone who loves his body so much, it's so crazy that I now have this disease, right? That would make a lot of people angry. But I'm reversing it. Not only turning it into an opportunity like I talked about on last week's episode, but I'm also grateful that it's just type 1 diabetes, that it's not worse, that it is very treatable. I'm thankful to myself that I noticed the warning signs, right? So any situation that you experience in your life, anything that is making you angry, can you ask yourself, wait, hold on, hold on. Maybe I can be grateful for this situation. Maybe I can be grateful that this person dumped me. Maybe I can be grateful that this person got a promotion over me. How does that make sense, Troy? Okay, well, let's dig into it. If someone gets promoted over you, be grateful and say, wait, I have a job. I have a job, okay? So many other people don't have jobs. Oh, wait, I have health insurance. So many people don't have health insurance and can't go get help like you can. Oh, I was considered for the promotion. Oh, okay, like they actually care about me and they value what I have to say, in my opinion. And they're telling me that, okay, I'm not getting this promotion, but I'm going to get the next one. We have so much in this life, this beautiful life, to be grateful for. The next time you feel anger, replace that feeling with gratitude. And if you do that, like the other 4 strategies, you can change your life pretty much overnight. How amazing is that? Okay, so here we go. Little Q&A segment. I put out the call on Instagram last week about taking your questions, comments, concerns that you want answered. If you're going through something, if you're struggling through something, if you need advice, if you just need someone to listen to you, if you need to get something off your chest, message me at Troy_Farkas. You see it right here on the screen and in the show notes as well. That's where you can find me to contact me with your submission for the show. This week's submission comes from Scott. What is your best advice for lessening your spending when you have a lot of commuting and homeowner expenses? Oh, great question, Scott. Anytime that I'm asked a money question, if you have a money problem, I will always come back to you with this response. Well, do you have a budget? Budgeting changed my life when I started doing it a couple years ago. People think that budgeting is very restrictive, right? And it's not restrictive. It's actually quite the opposite. It's actually very freeing. Once you start budgeting, you become very aware of what exactly it is that you're spending on. You become much more conscious and mindful of what you're spending on. When you put all of your earnings and your expenses down on paper, you can really, or in an app, you can really notice where your money is going, and you can really notice, wait, do I need to be spending on this? Wait, I'm paying for that thing? I didn't know I was paying for that thing. So the number one, there's a bunch of budgeting apps and tactics. The one that I use, that I've been using since 2018, the Every Dollar app. It's a fantastic app. It's made by the Dave Ramsey team. If you know Dave Ramsey, he's kind of America's financial guru, host of the Dave Ramsey Show, which is a very, very, very popular radio show / podcast. He's the author of many books, and his daughter, Rachel Cruz, is the author of many financial books as well. So they're a really great team for budgeting. The Every Dollar app that they've created is wonderful. It's free. There is a paid version, but the free version does everything you need to do for you. So what it does is you create your account and you start by tracking all of your income. So you put in how much money are you bringing in every month. And then you divvy up all of your spendings across commuting, homeowner expenses, food and drink and grocery, and your insurances and your debt if you're paying off loans, things like that, and any other fixed spendings of yours. Also, just like your fund money, your miscellaneous expenses as well. It divvies up all of those into categories, and then you allot, okay, I've got $300 in fund money this month. I've got $100 in insurance to pay this month. I've got $500 in transportation expenses to pay this month. Oh, I've got my rent in there, by the way. That's a big one. Or those various homeowner expenses. In doing that, you realize the things that you can cut back on. Okay, do I really need 5 subscriptions, streaming subscriptions? Do I really need X, Y, and Z? Okay, my air conditioning bill was this high this month. What changes can I make to my life to ensure that it's not that high? I talk a lot about discomfort, right? How can I make myself a little more uncomfortable? Because you ultimately grow from those situations, okay? So, do you really need the AC on all the time, or can you open the windows instead? Do you really need to pay for parking, or can you find free parking that's just includes 5 more minutes of walking? Do you really need someone to cut your grass for you, or can you do it yourself? Do you really need to get a $5 coffee at Starbucks every day, or can you make your own? Ask yourself at every turn, is this necessary? Do I need to be spending money on this? So when you talk about transportation and homeowner expenses, Scott, there's so many other questions I could ask you. I would ask you, well, are you leasing a car? Can you own a cheaper car and buy it outright so that you're not having the debt? Can you get some type of commuter pass if you're taking the train? Does your company reimburse you in any way? Is that something that you can look into? Then your homeowner expenses, a lot of those things. Like, well, do you really need X, Y, and Z? Do you need your energy bill to be that high? Do you need your water bill to be that high? Should you maybe take a couple less showers? Are there little ways that you can, not use the water when you're brushing your teeth, or take shorter showers? Can you not wash your dishes in the dishwasher as much? Can you not do your laundry as often? Like, find ways to cut back on those expenses that are a little too high for your liking, and then make the necessary adjustments. I talk all the time about how once you make an adjustment like that, okay, for example, not turning the AC on as much, it's a bit jarring at first. It's weird. But then if you just do it over and over again, it becomes muscle memory, and it's just another thing that you do in your life, and you don't even realize that you're doing it at that point. So, Scott, everyone watching, listening, have a budget. If you've got money problems, make a budget, and then come back to me again and tell me if all your problems are not solved. Because once you become very mindful of your expenses, the game really changes. The game really changes. You can actually be surprised at how much more freeing it can be to have a budget, at how much more you can actually spend on the things that you love to do. You might tell yourself that you don't have the money to go to a concert, but then if you just rearrange the numbers a little bit, you can actually say, oh, wait, I can actually find $80 here to pay for a concert ticket because I stopped the $80 over in this category, which I was kind of unnecessarily spending on. I didn't need that. So it's all about being more intentional. Or there's this. Maybe it's not a problem of you're spending too much. Maybe you just don't make enough. And that is a very possible situation as well. At that point, I would ask you, well, is it time to get a second job? Is it time to develop a side hustle? Is there some type of special skill that you have that you've been wanting to own and that could actually be monetized? I've done that. I've been doing that for a couple years, using something on the outside just to make a little more money, to make me rest a little bit easier at night. So I hope that helps, Scott. To close out today's show, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has shown me love in the past couple weeks since I talked about my type 1 diagnosis on the podcast and on social media. The outpouring of love and support and sympathy has been incredible. I'm overwhelmed by it. I've been hearing from strangers. I've been hearing from fans of the Spotify podcast that I work on. I've been hearing from old friends, people I haven't heard from in years, or quite frankly, thought about in years. It's been truly incredible. It reminds me of just how lucky I am and how grateful I am to have you guys in my life. honestly, a lot of you guys are taking it harder than I am. I've been just, turning the obstacle into an opportunity and keeping the perspective and all these things, but everyone seems to be taking it harder than me. And for that, I am deeply grateful to have the people in my corner that I do, because not everyone does. I'm fighting through it. I'm not going to lie to you. It has been a struggle so far. It's an adjustment period. It's not the administering of the insulin shots that's difficult. That's pretty easy. I'm a very regimented person, so it's pretty easy to add all of that into my routine. The problem right now is just figuring out how much insulin to give myself. The optimal insulin levels, I think, are between like 80 and 110 for the average human being whose pancreas actually makes insulin. Right now, I'm kind of constantly riding a wave based on how much insulin I give and how much and what I eat and how often I give the insulin to myself, where like the last 5 days, each of the last 5 days, I've experienced an insulin crash where I've gone below 80. And a crash involves you feel very fidgety. You can't focus at all. Your mind is moving a million miles a minute. It's debilitating. It stops you in your tracks. All productivity ceases, and you have to then focus immediately on getting your blood sugar up. And unfortunately, to get your blood sugar up, like, you have to eat stuff. So each of the last 5 days, I've uncomfortably had to force feed myself carbs, sugar in the form of glucose tablets, Coca-Cola, graham crackers, honey, orange juice, fruits, dried fruit, cookies. Like, you have to spike your blood sugar fast. And unfortunately, kind of like unhealthy sugars are the best way to do that. Last Friday night, I'd eaten a big dinner. My blood sugar crashed again, probably because I'm giving myself too much insulin. And then I'm force feeding myself a Coca-Cola at 11 p.m. before I wanted to go to bed. Is the absolute last thing in the world that I wanted to do. It tasted terribly. My stomach hurt so much, and I'm just trying to get my blood sugar up. So that's been hard. But I think 2 weeks of experimentation and of figuring out the right dosage, I'll be good. So thank you to everyone who has reached out. It means the world to me. I'm so grateful for you guys. I truly can't tell you what it feels. I'm grateful for everyone who is supporting me on this journey, who is getting the book, who is hyping up the book, who has shared that they've got the book on social media. Grateful for all the Substack subscribers and the YouTube subscribers and the Spotify, Apple Podcasts followers of this show. This is all I've ever wanted to do, is inform, educate, inspire, use my knowledge, use my experiences as ways to make the world a better place. I love writing. I love speaking. I love this medium of podcasting. Going to be doing it for a very long time, both on air and off air. And I just want to use these messages to make the world a better place. I want to speak to people. I want to get on stages. I want to go to universities. I want to do a freaking world tour. Okay? That's all coming. We're speaking it into existence. We're manifesting it. Thank you to everyone. I love you guys. I'll be back next week. I've got some guest episodes recorded. I recorded an episode at the book signing at Mocha Lisa a few weeks ago, so expect that to drop very soon. Until then, have a great rest of the week. Do things you love. Incorporate these 5 strategies of removing anger from your life, and then come back and tell me how it's changed your life. Have a great week. Talk to y'all soon.